everybody, it's Tony George from DocSports.com along with Sean Salisbury. We're talking Phoenix. We're talking Golden State in the NBA, and Sean is coming to us from Phoenix. And also his son is one of the head culinary team chefs down there for the Suns as well. So it's kind of an all Phoenix show here today, Sean. And Golden State off a big win last night. If you tuned in yesterday right here on this YouTube channel, I gave you Golden State. I told you they were going to win outright, and they did get it done against Utah. And Golden State right now, Sean, 3-0 their last three, 5-1 their last six, hanging on to 8th place in that playoff spot in the Western Conference division, I believe over Memphis, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me. And, of course, the Suns right behind Utah pretty much have second place secured. This line is Phoenix laying 5 on the road, and the total 230. And Sean, I got to be honest with you, and maybe you know more than me. You talk to a lot of sports writers and with your big mainstream radio show there on iHeartRadio. But at the end of the day here, I'm a little bit unclear on Phoenix's motivation heading into here. I mean, they pretty much would have to just fall off the planet, and then the team behind them, the Clippers, fall off the planet in order for them not to have the number 2 seed. I'm a little concerned about their motivation, but Sean, I have no questions at all about Golden State's motivation.
Oh, my goodness. And you could make the argument. You know what this reminds me of, Tony? Go back, and I know you remember this as a big baseball guy. You remember when Andre Dawson won the most valuable player with an unsigned? He said he signed a $500,000 contract. They gave him a contract. He filled in what he thought. He made $500,000, I think, that year, and he was on a last-place team in Chicago and won the MVP. Now, this is different. Yeah. It's an 8 seed, but we don't give 8 seeds away. We don't give the MVP away to an 8 seed, right, Tony? We just don't. Now, right. Steph Curry, I can argue, is about as exciting. He may be the most exciting player in the league to watch, and he is having a monster year. They're coming off – here's where the emotion comes in this. They got a lot to play for, number one, and they're coming off where they got to go back-to-back against the 2 best teams in the West, who arguably believe they're the 2 best teams in basketball now. Milwaukee or Philly or Brooklyn may have something to say, but in the West, both have played well. So with Golden State, the motive is there. But I'm going to tell you why the motive's here, all the motivation, should I say motivation, not motive, but to play well. Tony, look up and down that roster, and if I'm not mistaken, aside from Chris Paul's experience, I believe Jay Crowder is the only one who's been in an NBA Finals or in that position. So this is a team still trying to get valuable minutes and playing time without wearing a guy like Chris Paul out, who, by the way, if you want to talk MVP, while the numbers aren't as gaudy as you're going to see with Nikola Jokic or one of the Joel Embiid, how can Chris Paul not be in your talk as a top 3 MVP, if not the MVP, with the impact he's made? I believe this game matters a lot to the Suns, Tony. I get where you're coming from, but there's a buzz about it. And I think this is one of those, it's like winning at Augusta, but bogey in the last hole. You don't want to, I mean, you'll take it, but you don't want to bogey it, right? You want to par or birdie it, so you just kind of run in there saying, I won with momentum. I think the momentum matters to them. Now, Curry scares me because if he's raining jumpers, he can single-handedly carry you. And the number on a back-to-back game, for me, I think it's a 230 or something, 232, somewhere in that range, Tony. Both teams can score, and I don't know how much defense is going to be played. See, I think that on a back-to-back night, I would have a propensity to take the Suns, and if I was doubling it, I'm going with the over. Even though it's back-to-back fresh legs, I don't know if a lot of defense is going to be played. Booker and Paul and the group, I think you're looking at a score, and we've been high. I've been pretty hot with the overs in both baseball and in basketball. I'm going to lean there again, man. I think that you're going to get the over on this game because I think there's too many scorers on the court, and I do believe the Suns have a lot to play for. It matters to them, 2 seed or not.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you on the side, and I'm going to take the points. I'm going to take the home dog here, and I'm going to take the home dog for a couple reasons. Steve Kerr knows how to coach, and he's got his team playing the best basketball of the season, the back-to-back. You know, pro sports, Sean, especially the NBA, these guys are in shape. And the bottom line, too, is Curry is coming off a 3 for 13 or something, just a horrible night last night, where they still beat Utah.
Yep.
I don't know at any point in time when the Suns very rarely let off the throttle when it comes to playing defense. They got one of the top defenses in the league,
No
and
question.
they are well rested, and I think they will challenge Curry and company on the outside here tonight. I do think they have a clear-cut advantage on the interior and getting some easy 2 points from time to time in the paint, because that's where Golden State gets lazy.
And
But
Tony,
Sean likes.
yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
Just one last thing about this that would make when we're talking about it, and you're right about their ability to be relentless on the defensive end, and Chris Paul's the leader of that as well. But their last five games, and here's what I'm talking about, because if the Suns are going to win the NBA West and they're going to have to play defense, because the West has too many scores. They just do. And this game's no different in stopping Curry. And you're right, back-to-back bad games by Curry. That's why I like the over in the game and Booker on this side. But the last 5 games, they've given up 123, 105, 135, 118, and 120. And so while defense, now I know that what you think 118, 105 that's a hell of a defensive effort in the NBA now. I just see a little at the end of the season, maybe not as much effort because it is the 2 seed. I know they want to win. I like the over in the game, man. I just do. I think they'll play enough defense to keep it from being 260. But I think this is a game in the 120s. I do, and probably pretty close. But I like the over because I think that too many scores in this game, and late and resting, you may not give the overall effort on one side of the ball, meaning the Suns, and they've yielded some points in the last 5 games.
The 2 for Tuesday, Sean Salisbury likes the over, and I'll take the points in Golden State. And just quickly, in a minute or less, and I know you talk about this on your radio show all the time, who's going to win the West this year? Who's going to be in the NBA Finals out of the West, Sean? Right now, your early prediction.
And it's so funny you say that, Tony, because I said if you had to give everything up, I mean, everything you owned, you had to bet it on one and push it into the middle right now, knowing what you know today. And I even said the overall NBA championship. I think most would lean to Brooklyn because 3 stars, right? But for me, the West, I think Utah's really, really good. I would probably, and I know this is going to sound crazy, as much as I like the Suns, if Paul George would step up in post game, there's still something about the Clippers that tells me if it needs to ramp up with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, they can. So I may lean to them if I had to bet it all in. But I still think the 1 and 2 seed are going to shock some people throughout the playoffs and give them all they need to handle.
Let me ask you a question when it comes to the Clippers. And I'm gonna say this, and I'm probably going to piss some people off, but you know what? I don't care. The Clippers' problem's Tyronn Lue. If they had Doc Rivers, they'd be better.
And here they are. Still, you look at their record and say, man, they're pretty good, but the record, once you get in for those guys, a lot of it doesn't matter. You know, if you're LeBron James and you get in, even though the Lakers aren't playing like we'd like them to play, but I understand what you're saying. And Doc's done a hell of a job. Look at his impact with the 76ers. Doc gets him to play both ends. So you're 100% correct. We're going to see if they can ramp it up. And for me to answer that as far as the Clippers go on the player side, and you're exactly right about the coach, is that Paul George come postseason, he's a great perimeter defender and a scorer. I need game after game after game, if I'm a Clipper fan and the Clippers, for Paul George to act like an MVP, right, on a regular occurrence, or they'll get eliminated. I love the way Utah's played. I love their energy. I love the Suns. But if money was on the line, I'd probably take more experience, although Utah's got it. But there's something about the Clippers that says with those stars, they should be able to compete, and they know how to defend with Leonard as well. I'm anxious to see, Tony. This may be the year one of the guys that we're not used to get out of the West. It may be the case, and they're going to have their hands full dealing with some of those beasts in the East this year.
Yeah, and just remember one thing, folks. Although Utah lost last night, it was a tough spot for them, and Golden State's kind of in a zone. Remember one thing: Utah's been winning a lot of games without their 2 stars,
Donovan Mitchell. Yeah.
Their backcourt's been missing, and they're going to come back healthy for the playoffs and rested. And that's their first and third leading scorer and their number 1 assist leader in Connolly. So the Utah, you better keep your eye on them. And just remember one thing out there, Clippers fans: no Doc Rivers and no Lou Williams. That's going to show up in the postseason. I can tell you
And,
that
the,
right
and
now.
Utah and Utah defends too. They can defend the rim with Gobert. Conley plays defense. They're pretty relentless, and I actually think they're tired of people saying, "Oh, they're an early out in the past playoffs." And they're and a home crowd when there's people there, Tony. It's a really
Yeah.
really rough place to play in Utah. And with the number 1 seed, you're going to have to go through there.
Free play on this game. Sean Salisbury has the over. I have Golden State, and the Western Conference Finals preview was just on me and Sean. So be sure and catch us over at Doc Sports. The free $60. Click the link description below and catch Mr. Sean Salisbury on the Sean Salisbury Show on iHeartRadio. Thanks for tuning in.